I want to ask you finally about your measure of the president politically at this juncture. You had an opportunity to sit down with him. You said at the outset of this interview, it's more talking you've done with him face-to-face than you've done in a while, as you met with other congressional leaders and the president on Tuesday. Here's where the president stands politically compared to Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton at a similar juncture after they'd faced a tough midterm race. And you look at his approval rating, he actually rates a bit higher, which is counter to the conventional wisdom because he's taken quite a licking here. What's your assessment of his political strength as a political adversary for you now?
Well, the political thing will play out over the next 2 years. But the thing we need to do now is to figure out how we can work together. The American people didn't send us here to do nothing for the next 2 years. In fact, we've had a regularly scheduled election every 2 years since 1788 in this country. And I think what I hope will happen is the president will hear the message of the American people. I think they spoke rather loudly and rather clearly. One pundit described it as a restraining order against what we've been doing the last 2 years, this splurge of spending and debt and Washington takeovers. That needs to stop. And hopefully we can focus on things that we can agree on. For example, the president has apparently secured an agreement with Korea with regard to trade. That's something I'm very likely to support, can support.
And you consider that a big accomplishment by him? Because he was criticized roundly, leaving South Korea without that free trade deal, and he got it. He waited for it, and he got it.
How he left South Korea, if he now has an agreement, that's something we ought to go forward with. And by the way, we ought to do the Colombia Agreement and the Panama Agreement as well, which have been languishing for 3 years.
But, Senator, the question I ask here is about his political strength. You have said that your goal is to make him a one-term president.
Well,
that's what you told the National
Journal.
To be
a two-term president.
Right.
I mean, so what's unusual about that?
What makes you think he's vulnerable enough to be a one-term president that you could succeed?
Look, I don't think we ought to be talking about what's going to happen 2 years from now.
But you did talk about it. You said you wanted him to be a one-term president, that was your goal.
He wants to be a two-term president. I want him to be a one-term president. The American people have put us both in charge for 2 more years, and we need to have a relationship with each other and see what we can do working together. I hope he pivots and starts helping us reduce spending, reduce debt, ratify trade deals. He's in favor of nuclear power. So are most of my members. There are things we can do together for the American people that would be very important.
You predicted he'd become a born-again moderate.
I sure hope so.
But is that playing out in this tax debate?
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out.
But you're confident it will?
Dan Balz wrote in the Post this morning the 2 models we've been looking at for 6 months, the Harry Truman model and the Bill Clinton model. Truman decided to run against the Congress. Worked for him in 1948. Clinton decided to do things with the Congress. It worked for him in 96. Those are decisions the president's going to have to make. My view is we're all here to do the people's business for the next 2 years. To the extent that the president wants to do things that I and my members are comfortable with, we want to do that for the country.
Is he tougher than a lot of people think in terms of being politically vulnerable in your mind?
Look, I like him personally. We have different political agendas, but there will be some overlap, and hopefully we can find a way to work together.